Welcome to the show. Great to be with you. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy money in the bank. Happy you're not in the traffic jam getting to work like I was. Hope you're having a good start to your week. It's great to be with you. Enjoy so much doing the show with you, and we're glad that you're there. We're delighted to be here. The crew is in here in the studio, and we're off to another week. And, of course, holiday season. That's a big theme. So you came in, and you were telling me that traffic was back
5 miles to get from my house to this one exit. I need 30 or plus minutes. Why? Because there was an accident way on the other side of the highway. Had nothing to do with our lane of traffic. But people have to, rubberneckers. It was a visual slowdown.
Okay, but you got here, you took like a breath, you detoxed, and you de-stressed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking to you.
Right. It's fun, but it's interesting that there's people that can't do that. There's people that just can't.
Yeah, I know. I've learned to do that. And I stayed relatively calm driving in, Gary. I had to keep reminding myself, breathe from your diaphragm, and it helps. But that's what goes on. It's just crazy stuff.
We're all subject to it.
Every one of us. As much as I think I know about whatever, I fall victim to the very things that I'm talking about, just like everybody else. Yeah, I guess that makes it even worse. I should know better. But that's a lesson in control's an illusion. Nothing I could do about that other than stay calm and just wait for it to make my way. Control is an illusion. It is an illusion. Some people, when I give lectures or seminars, and I've introduced that concept into the seminar, you'd be surprised, Gary, the pushback I get, because I run an open seminar.
Right.
I want people to express what they're seeing and feeling and what they've done. I want it open. I want them to be edited, and they feel I create that kind of environment, and they push back. What do you mean there's no control? They'll say something like, they'll do a tautological argument. Well, control is how I control the world. That's a circular argument. Control is how I control my world. And what makes you think you control the world? And they'll say, well, I'll say, at home, how do you know you're in control? Because my kids do what I tell them to do.
That's nothing. That's a nothing.
And I say, why do you think you're in control? Because my employees do what I tell them to do. And I said, you think that's your operational definition for control? I said, what happens when you turn your back? Are you getting compliance then? In other words, your mere presence is enough to make them compliant. But what about when you're not there? And what kind of psychological effect are you having on them? How do they feel about you? And I say, you're controlling them. Why? Because they do what I tell them to do. And you think that that's control.
You couldn't control the traffic this morning.
No, you can't.
But it still upset you.
Well, sure. You have to say, wait a second. This is out of my span of influence. Only thing I can, in quotes, control is my response. And either you're going to sit there and get agitated like a Maytag washer, or you remember those old washing machines? My mom had one of those Maytags. Or you're going to be like a glider. Those planes, the gliders that have no motor, quiet, and you just soar and just glide through this. That's what you have to try to do, create those kind of images. And I said, all right, I'll get there. I got here on time and got the start. It all worked out.
Yeah, you got here early. You even got here early, so I was just...
But I hope you're all having a nice weekend. This is by way of saying that I understand that this time of year is so crazy. I mean, just nuts. And remember the principle: when under stress, the dominant response emerges. was talking about that with my family yesterday, my aunt and her two daughters, and we were discussing the state of affairs politically and otherwise. It was a nice, one of those moments where the family's together and we're just talking. I love those moments. And I was telling them that about that principle, that under stress, the dominant response emerges. And if you think about it, you have different situations, you will respond differently. And if you notice, maybe with yourself, some situations you remain very calm, others not so much. Your dominant response is not necessarily always the same across stressful contexts or situations. It's not necessarily. Although some people do not do well with stress under any circumstance, even when it's good stress, like riding roller coasters, that's stressful. People have heart attacks on those things, but they're a lot of fun. Or can be, at least I find them to be fun, but that's a stressful event. Driving with a race car driver, you've had this experience.
Oh yeah.
Sitting in the passenger seat, and what was the stock cars? What are they called? The
NASCAR cars.
NASCAR cars. Take a ride with one of those guys. All you can do is probably hold on to your water.
Did I tell you about the time we built a 2-seater race car?
No.
And we took it down the street. And it's funny, the guy that I rode in it with, right, was a professional driver, built, raced and everything. And it's true. I felt stressed and out of control and lost.
Right.
Yes. Feeble almost.
So, all kinds of stressful situations. This holiday season, the loss of a loved one, relatives coming to the house, having to travel. Eating too much is stressful. Drinking too much is stressful. Eating foods that are inflammatory in nature, which leads me to my story for today that I want to report on and chat with you about. It's funny how these writers frame everything. Everything's this kind of diet or that kind of diet. Now there's the anti-inflammation diet, anti-inflammatory diet. Really? Geez. They're making now as if what? We've known about this for decades. Now they're going to call it a diet. All right, whatever. It's a way of eating. It's not a weight loss diet. It's a way of eating. So during this holiday season, there are foods to eat and foods to avoid. The one food to avoid, that Christmas cake, fruit cake that looks like a block, it looks like a red brick. It's wrapped in cellophane.
Yes.
And it sits around the house past Easter and whatnot. And gets hard as a rock. If you threw it against the wall, it would break the plaster. That people will eat 6 months after Christmas. Do not eat that cake. With all that fruit in there, that's all these funny colors. Why are those funny colors like that? Why is it? Because they dyed it. Please don't eat that cake. I'll tell you about some of the foods to eat during the holidays that are anti-inflammatory in nature that'll serve you well. Here's how to get in touch with the show.
You can reach us at 877-897-8255. That's 877-897-8255. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Nutrition, on Instagram at Let's Talk Nutrition, and LTN Radio on the Twitter.
Stephen could answer this question. What are some of the worst Christmas foods? Watch me come back. He'll give me an answer.
I'm Joy McCarthy, holistic nutritionist, and I expect more from my multivitamin. I've researched many vitamins, and what's truly different about Every Woman's One Daily from New Chapter is that it's fermented with probiotics and whole foods and gentle even on an empty stomach. Every Woman's One Daily helps you feel good every day. giving you immune, energy, and stress support, and nutrients for bone and heart health. You will notice a difference. Every Woman's One Daily recently won the Best Multivitamin Award, and I love that it's non-GMO project verified. Discover the wisdom of nature with New Chapter.
Whether you spend your free time on a treadmill, under a car, or in your garden, if your active lifestyle leaves you sore, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce may be exactly what you need. Inflammaforce has a natural herb blend that acts as an anti-inflammatory to help maintain healthy joint and mobility support. There are standardized herbs like white willow, boswellia, turmeric, ginger, and devil's claw. The vegetarian capsule promotes easy digestion and a fast-acting dissolve process. Inflammaforce includes a proprietary enzyme herbal blend full of antioxidants and flavonoids that target pain and inflammation throughout the body. Body Vigor's Inflammaforce contains ingredients that support normal, healthy joint flexibility and function, builds healthy tissue, and helps with your recovery process. So if you're tired of sore joints and inflamed muscles, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce is your answer. Purchase Inflammaforce.
Holiday eating. Okay, Stephen, what's one of the worst holiday foods?
Worst as in bad for you, or just really disgusting, like fruitcake?
Whatever.
I don't know. My family was never a big holiday food. I mean, we just, like Thanksgiving, we just do like the turkey and a few sides, and for Christmas, pretty much the same meal. So I don't really have a list of the word. I mean, I would have to go with like the
how about
cakes
how
and
about
pies.
how about cheese straws?
Cheese straws?
Cheese straws?
Yep. You never had those?
No.
I don't know.
How about Swedish meatballs?
Yeah,
Okay.
those are good.
Yeah.
Yes, those are good. How about eggnog?
Sometimes.
How about stuffed potatoes?
No.
Yeah, sure.
Either-
Well, those are just like a daily thing. Those aren't just the holidays. Twice baked potatoes, those are good.
That's why I love
That's why he's skinnier than me.
cream spinach.
Well, I love cream spinach.
Stop it. Pot roast.
Yeah, pot roast's good.
Fruit cake.
Ugh.
Pass.
Pecan pie.
Oh, yeah. 2 portions, please. And whipped cream.
Cheesecake.
Eh,
Candied yams.
all day long.
Cranberry sauce.
Oh, that's good.
Yorkshire pudding.
Eh.
Spinach and artichoke dip.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, with
Let's-
that
listen
with
to
that bread, with the bread stuff.
Oh, man. You boys. No wonder. Prime rib.
Yeah.
Sausage stuffing.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Listen to them. Dark meat turkey with skin.
Of course. That's my oh yeah.
All right. Green bean casserole with fried onions.
We have that once a week. It's got green beans in it.
Yeah, that's I'm robbing the bank, but I got a rosary in my hand. What are you stupid? Come on, man. You have no business eating that. Please stop, Gary. Please, I'm begging you. Croissants.
Yeah.
That's a big holiday. Potato pancakes. No. Hot buttered rum.
Hot buttered rum?
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Putting rum and butter together?
Yeah.
Huh, never heard of that. I'll try that tonight.
Lobster Newburg. Big holiday. Yule log or that Yule log. You know, it's a chocolate, heavy cream, butter, sponge cake. It's a cake and it looks like a peppermint with white chocolate mocha. That's a nice holiday drink. Caramel apples. Gingerbread. Sugar cookies.
Yeah.
Plum pudding. Mashed potatoes.
Of course.
Of course. Candy canes. You know, the ones where they're so sticky that if you chew them long
see,
enough when you were a kid, the fillings would come out of your mouth.
I'm so wiped out on candy canes.
Gooseberry pie.
Never had it.
Not a fan. Don't even know what it is. Beef Wellington. Yes, you're shaking your head.
Mhm.
Yeah, Stephen. Okay. Chocolate martinis.
Why not?
Yeah.
You boys. A glazed ham.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
See?
That's a staple.
On that croissant bread that you mentioned earlier.
Oh, cinnamon rolls. Yeah?
Yeah.
Truffles. Y'all like truffles?
Never had one.
Peanut brittle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, but it's so hard to eat. It'll just ruin your teeth.
Break your teeth. Apple pie a la mode.
Mm-hmm.
With a slice of cheddar cheese.
Nice vanilla bean ice cream right on top.
A little warm, so it kind of like melts the ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
Dunkin' Donuts gingerbread latte. Dunkin' Donuts gingerbread.
No, I haven't had that.
You have no, and you shouldn't.
Okay.
These are
These are for the terrible things.
trifles. It's a layer of airy pudding fruit and cake.
Ugh.
It looks light. Yeah. It'll put a back porch on you that you could, seat a family of 15.
No.
Chocolate covered cherries. Of course.
I'm not. Well, see, I'm not a fan of chocolate covered fruit.
Mulled wine, Stephen.
Not sure what that is.
Mulled wine. It's supposed to boost heart health, but there's not much. It's red wine is the main ingredient in mulled wine, but I don't know exactly how they prepare it. But there's
I was just looking online, and I guess
cinnamon,
there's like raisins and stuff in it.
Cinnamon, cloves, orange.
Reminds me of like sangria almost.
I hate sangria. Hate it.
Not after you finish one pitcher, you won't.
Watch this. Cheese balls. No.
And that way they take like the like nuts and kind of put them around the cheese ball. Yeah, it's all right.
See, tri-flavor popcorn tins. You ever see that stuff?
Yeah, and I actually stay away from that one.
Royal Danish butter cookies. Cheese fondue. Yo. I can feel the arteries. You can hear the arteries starting to clog. Shepherd's pie. Sounds so innocent.
It's good.
Yeah.
Easy, too.
Do you see? That's why I talk to these boys, because they reflect what's out there in the world. These are some of the worst holiday foods.
Really?
Worst.
Well, see, a lot of those I don't necessarily associate with just the holidays. Like some of those are dishes.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all year nutritional violations. Chocolate oranges. Have you ever had that?
I'm just not a fan of chocolate dipped fruit.
Those are foods to avoid. You want to heat up your body with a lot of inflammation?
Oh, they cause inflammation.
Absolutely, man. We come back, I'll tell you what are the anti-inflammatory. Those foods, that's a 10-alarm fire inside your body. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Happy holidays.
The perfect complement to your beauty regimen? Try Form Essentials Zinnia. The finest of its kind, Zinnia offers twice as much biotin as other formulas, which has proven to unlock the vibrancy in even the dullest of hair, skin, and nails. Zinnia breaks through and rejuvenates cells internally, helping you achieve the allure of effortless beauty. Reviving your hair, skin, and nails has never been easier. This essential blend of biotin, alpha-lipoic, and hyaluronic acid, collagen, and vitamin C creates lasting enhancements to your natural good looks. Don't go on wondering, you're worth the results. This combination of ingredients can only be found in Zinnia. Pamper yourself with a proven bit of affordable luxury and start looking your best. Ask for Zinnia by name at your nearest vitamin retailer to begin your journey to restored nails, head-turning hair, and radiant skin today. For more information, visit formessentials.com.
When your alarm goes off, do you jump out of bed with excitement? Or does it take multiple alarms, a few snooze buttons, or a morning caffeine fix to get you going? These habits and daily stress cause a vicious cycle in which sleep becomes increasingly elusive. In fact, 54% of Americans report struggles to fall or stay asleep. For a better night's rest, look no further than Solace, an all-natural dietary supplement that supports healthy sleep and relaxation, so you get the rest you need to wake up clear-eyed, alert, and ready for the day. Solace has given thousands a better night's rest and the power to take back their mornings while enjoying the day ahead of them. Solace is formulated with non-addictive, scientifically proven, all-natural ingredients that support sleep and relaxation, such as melatonin, tryptophan, and 5-HTP. For more information or to order Solace, visit takesolace.com. Solace, for healthy sleep naturally.
So that list of foods I just went through, that's some of the foods you need to avoid during the holidays. Welcome back to the show. Gosh, those are just, they get you into so much trouble. Not only are they weight gainers, but they're inflammation producers. Yeah, you just don't want to go down that road. But it's served up everywhere, right? At the family dinner, go to office party, at every bend and turn, at every twist and turn, you'll find one of these foods or more than one. Sometimes they're all present in one venue. So what you're trying to do, Dr. Michael Lyon will be my guest today. And Dr. Lyon, I'm sure, has a thought or two about this. And what I'm going to say, I have to say it. I know it's not very persuasive. That's not going to change behavior, but I need to say it. Eat a variety of fruits and vegetables during the holidays. Try to reduce the amount of food. Try to eat more slow. Use smaller plates. You know, not the size of a hubcap on a 53 Buick. Try to drink more water. Try to drink less alcohol. Alcohol is dehydrating. They're stealth carbs. Don't give up your routines during the holiday. If you go to the gym or whatever you do, keep doing it. I don't know why people abandon those routines. Don't do that. Stay with it. There's many other kinds of recommendations. I'll publish an article, for this time of year, and you can take a look at it. And those foods that I listed are so inflammatory in nature. All the bread, all the processed meats, those luncheon meats. Oh, you couldn't get me to eat that at gunpoint. No way. No way. Mm-mm. And so you want to, take a look at some of the blueberries, blackberries, cherries. These taste great. Beans and lentils, some green tea. Avocado is pretty good, high in fat, but it's good. I like olives. Some of my colleagues don't. All the different nuts, be careful about those. They're high in fat, but they're good. Dark chocolate is good in moderation. Cacao is better than cocoa. Cocoa is just processed sugar. These are less inflammatory. Green tea, the different teas are very good. Red peppers, green peppers, yellow peppers. Try to include a few of those in the midst of all that other nutritional violation. Dr. Michael Lyon is my guest. Dr. Michael Lyon is always dealing with people who have difficult relationships with food. He runs a clinic in Canada that he's been on several times. He's become a favorite around here. The audience likes him a lot. And he's dealing with some of the most difficult challenges that people have because how do they get into his clinic? The only way they can get in there is by referral. That means they're in a lot of trouble. So he gets the worst of the worst situations or conditions with people in being obese, morbidly obese, and whatnot. He literally has an army of professionals working with him in the clinic to battle this epidemic. Dr. Lyon, welcome back to the show. It's always wonderful to have you on. Do you fall prey to these holiday foods when you go to the parties and this and that where you're invited?
Well, because I grew up a heavy kid, I had to establish some sort of personal rules early on in my life, and I found out, when I was younger and decided that I ended up losing weight, not because I was smart or because I went on a special diet plan, but because I got so sick as a teenager that I almost died. I had pneumonia and it dragged out very, very long. I ended up very sick for a long time and lost a lot of weight. It was the first time in my life where I didn't want to eat all the time, essentially. And when I went back to school and kids didn't kick me and spit on me and treat me, like I was just a punching bag, I decided I wasn't going to regain that weight. And the first thing I did was I decided the easiest thing for me would just be to stop eating desserts. because I grew up in a family where my mom was a gourmet chef. She ran a catering business, and she got her enjoyment out of watching me eat. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that.
Well-intentioned.
Yeah.
Well-intentioned, right? Well-intentioned.
Yeah,
but
well-intentioned, and my mom was a loving person and wanted to see people enjoy themselves, and of course
that was her gift.
great.
That was her gift to you.
Yeah, the problem was it was every day. So we had 3 refrigerators, three freezers. We had always just a ton of food that was coming home from these events that she would cater, and desserts were always a big one. So I would end up eating too much for dinner, and then she'd end up wanting me to eat one of her, or more than one of her desserts. And so when I ended up needing to avoid gaining weight, the first thing I stopped doing was eating multiple servings, like multiple helpings of dinner. I would have one plate full of food, and then I stopped eating dessert.
And that helped a lot?
Well, the stop eating dessert, I found, if I'm going to make a sacrifice for my health and for my weight, that was probably the easiest one to go, because by the time you get around to dessert, if you've eaten sufficiently, the dessert's only going to make you kind of feel sick. It really doesn't give you anything more than a few seconds of
pleasure,
of enjoyment as it slips down your throat. So, I've kind of gotten used to, as an adult, I'm nearly 60 now, and I would say that's probably the thing that stuck with me the most. So when I go to an event and there's all these millions of desserts, it's generally easier for me to just not have any.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah, sure.
If it's too personal, don't answer it. Just move me on. When you're at these events, and I know you're popular and people love you and they want to invite you to this and that and whatnot, and you walk into a room and you see all of those foods that were once part of your relationship with food, does it cause you ever to flash back, and does it bring up memories, and you're standing there thinking, man, and you have this sort of dark corridor about all of that in your head?
Well, it does, in the sense that I had, I am sure, elements of what we would nowadays classify as a binge eating disorder. For instance, after dinner, and it was always a big dinner, as I explained, when my mother would want me to eat multiple helpings of food and then usually a dessert, I got into the habit of going downstairs to the basement where we had freezers, and she would keep the ice cream.
Oh, geez.
And we would usually have about 6 or 8 flavors of ice cream, and they would rotate because she would, of course, take these to events and they would get used up. So we'd have all these wonderful ice creams, and I would go downstairs, and I had a spoon that I would leave underneath the freezer.
Oh, my goodness.
So that I could open the freezer, and without anybody looking, I would open the ice cream and I'd start to eat, and I would gorge myself on ice cream until I could hardly fit any more in my
We're going to come right back with Dr. Michael Lyon.
Whether you spend your free time on a treadmill, under a car, or in your garden, if your active lifestyle leaves you sore, Body Figures Inflammaforce may be exactly what you need. Inflammaforce has a natural herb blend that acts as an anti-inflammatory to help maintain healthy joint and mobility support. There are standardized herbs like white willow, boswellia, turmeric, ginger, and devil's claw. The vegetarian capsule promotes easy digestion and a fast-acting dissolve process. Inflammaforce includes a proprietary enzyme herbal blend full of antioxidants and flavonoids that target pain and inflammation throughout the body. Body Vigor's Inflammaforce contains ingredients that support normal, healthy joint flexibility and function, builds healthy tissue, and helps with your recovery process. So if you're tired of sore joints and inflamed muscles, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce is your answer. Purchase Inflammaforce exclusively on Amazon.com.
So I've been producing and hosting this show for, it'll come 13 years this year. It's a long time. Scores, hundreds of guests come through these broadcast corridors. Dr. Lyon, without exception, is the only guest that's ever been that self-disclosive about a personal health issue. We've had our share of conversations on this show about weight gain, weight loss, obesity, being morbidly obese, and all matters related. At the end of the day, this is my opinion, I think what resonates the most with a listener or a viewer is when you have an expert, and he is an expert, and one of the world's leading experts in weight loss. And I say world, literally. And he discloses what he just did. He gives you that, he humanizes the problem, the issue. It's not some health issue. It moves beyond that when he talks about it that way and shares that kind of personal, very self-disclosive narrative. And a person's relationship with food, and how, as a young boy, how he got off on the wrong path with it in the way he described. That is a very powerful narrative. And he didn't know I was going to ask him that question. I didn't know what he was going to say. Dr. Lyon, welcome back. First of all, I don't need to ingratiate myself with you at all, but I just want to tell you that I appreciate and I am grateful for you sharing that narrative, because thousands of people listen and watch this show. You have probably more influence in sharing that story than any highly hyper-technical how to lose weight discussion you could ever muster, because people understand what you were saying that have experienced that. What was your maximum weight that you reached as a boy? Do you recall?
Well, because I was a youngster, I would say equivalent to my adult weight now, I would have been about 300 pounds in terms of, because I wasn't my full height, so it's kind of hard for me to say what what proportionately I would have been close to 300 pounds, I guess.
What did it feel like?
Then.
What did it feel like when you got pneumonia and you got so sick and it was such a protracted illness and you were so sick you couldn't eat? What was going through your mind, and what were you experiencing psycho-emotionally or physiologically, biologically, in not eating? That was probably one of the first, if not the first time in your life when you couldn't go down in the basement with your hidden spoon and eat the ice cream and all the cakes and whatever that your mom brought home and this and that. What did that feel like, not to eat food?
Well, I recall that a lot of the time was fever and delirium, so it was maybe I wasn't too aware of the whole experience.
Mm-hmm.
I was really sick. I mean, they thought I had tuberculosis. The pneumonia was so extensive that they were going to admit me. Back then, you would put people in a sanitarium,
right,
with tuberculosis.
That's right.
They were going to put me into the sanitarium. I do remember my mother weeping because she thought I was going to be taken away and put in the sanitarium.
Mm-hmm.
As it turned out, I responded to antibiotics, and it started to resolve. And they realized
at some point you were clear-headed and you weren't eating, and did you realize, how old were you at this time?
I was about 13.
Okay, so you were
teenager.
You're pretty well aware, and you're getting better, and now you realize I'm not eating all that food I was eating. How did you feel about that?
Well, I started realizing I was losing weight partway through the process, and I started to kind of embrace it in a way. It was a feeling that. Wow, I could see that my clothes weren't fitting, and my belly was getting smaller. I could start seeing my toes when I looked down, and I don't know. I do remember kind of an excitement about it, in the sense that here I am sick, but one of the first things that happened when
you never felt so better being sick, right?
No, I mean, there was actually 2 girls that took a fondness to me when I went back to school.
Oh my goodness!
Arguing over me. This was brand new. I can tell you, I was not the I was not the object of people's affection back then. So
ridicule. They made fun of you, didn't they?
Oh yeah, constantly. And I grew up. My parents, my formal name is Michael, but my parents called me Mickey, so I was Mickey at school, and so you can imagine getting called Mickey. Mickey Picky, Mickey Sticky, Mickey Mouse, Mickey this, Mickey that. It was I was sort of like Johnny Cash. It could have been like Johnny Cash, the boy named Sue.
Yeah. My goodness. I mean, so around 13, it was sort of because how paradoxical and ironic. Because of a serious illness that could have cost you your life, you had an epiphany, and it altered your relationship with food. Fast forward many years later, end up in medical school. Now you're a leading expert in weight loss. You can't make that up. I mean, it's really remarkable. I just I haven't spent a lot of time with you except on the radio, and so I wouldn't say that I know you. I know you as a guest. We haven't had dinner. I haven't sat with you. We haven't gone out and gone to a movie, or we don't. We're not pals, so to speak. But I got to tell you, man, it's pretty. I just how remarkable. I know how difficult this has been for you. At least I can certainly appreciate it. And to be where you are today, and to make that achievement and overcome that's just an amazing, amazing story. I know you probably take it. I don't know if you take it for granted or not, but I'm impressed. And
I don't. I mean, I have to fight for my health every day. That's the thing. I grew up with a pretty bad foundation. I was sick all the time as a kid, from a baby on, and getting to be close to 60, I'm finding I'm even more. Have to be very careful now to live in balance and to feel.
Somebody commented on that to me the other day. She said you had that Michael. I said Michael Lyon. Yeah, that guy. He said that once you lose weight, that's a lot. You have to do that for the rest of your life. Is he right? I said,
he's right.
Yeah, I said, you have no idea how right he is.
Yeah.
We're going to come back and we'll talk some more with Michael Lyon. That's a remarkable narrative. Man, oh man. I just shake. I told Gary during the break, I said, did you hear that story, man? He went down in the basement, would hide the spoon and then eat the ice cream that was in the freezer after dinner. Man, oh man. There are more people that do that than we can even imagine.
Welcome to this holiday edition of LTN. Glad you could stop by. So happy to be with you. Hope that you're making your way through the holidays and trying to get to the end of it in one piece. and keeping our focus on why we are celebrating this in the first place, right? We don't want to get so caught up in the commercialism that we get commercialized ourselves and then lose our focus and get out of a state of mindfulness and appreciation and gratitude. If you have your health, that is probably, in my opinion, the greatest gift, all other things considered and being equal. Because once that goes on the wane and becomes and is put into jeopardy in one form or shape or another for one reason or another, your quality of life immediately takes. It's like going into the casino and putting all the money on one hand and you're lost, and you feel it immediately, that impact. And it can be devastating. So if you have your health, all other things being equal, again, no matter what difficulties you may be experiencing, you have that you can manage and make it. So I'm just saying, I'm speaking from my own firsthand experience. A year ago, I didn't even know I would be sitting here talking to you. And that's a fact. So I was telling Gary, this past Thanksgiving, that being with my family, I said, this is the best Thanksgiving of my life. I always knew health was important. I've talked about it for many years. But it takes it out of the abstract. And I'm sure many of you have had when your health is threatened and your life is threatened because of ill health, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So somehow, if you haven't had that experience, you got to get it out of the abstract as much as you can, and try to imagine and practice empathy, putting yourself in the shoes of another who has experienced that, and try to grasp what that might be like. Just think about when you catch a cold or get infected with a flu virus or a cold virus of one sort or another, and how crappy and lousy you feel. Take that and multiply it by 1,000 times or more. And you get a sense of what I'm talking about. And I know many of you have and may be right now experiencing that kind of event in your life. I understand. And we're glad that you can tune into the show. And if we can serve as at least some source of solace and motivation, and to try to connect with you, we're happy to do that. My guest today is Dr. Michael Lyon. If you coming over from the first hour into this one, you heard what he had to say and sharing his own story. Pretty dramatic, my goodness. So this is a health talk show, but really, and at its core, it's a show about life, day-to-day life. That's where I know it resonates. And that's why Dr. Lyon's such an important guest, because that's what he deals with every day, people's lives in their day-to-day life, trying to get them to do better with their relationship with food so that they can lose some weight and maybe add some quality of life and some more years to their life. Dr. Lyon, welcome back. I want to bring you on right away. So there you are up there in your clinic and working hard. How have things been and how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, and things are going very well in the clinic. Yeah, it's of course a busy time of the year. People are worried about the holidays, people that struggle with their weight, wanting to know if this might be the first holiday for some people where they don't gain weight. That's a big breakthrough when people can actually come back and say, you know what, I didn't lose any weight over the holidays, but I didn't gain any. That's the first time it's ever happened to me. So that's something that we embrace the small changes that people make. When people can start to make those little changes, they can add up to really big changes in the long term. And you can see someone turn their health around and undergo a personal health revolution by tackling these small things, one step at a time.
Do you have any recommendations, strategies, and accompanying tactics that people could practice during the holidays to sort of stay within the guardrails of their relationship with food, and not get off track too much? Or are there certain things that they could, principles or whatnot, that they could practice during this time of year?
Well, I'd say to people, get out of the all or nothing mentality. It's often you're either on a diet that is full on and sometimes downright crazy, extreme, or you do nothing at all, and that doesn't get you anywhere in the long term. You have to tackle the small things. You've got to say, okay, well, when I go out and I visit friends, or I have a party and there's all these delectable treats, you might start to think in advance, okay, I might limit myself to one treat and then stop and just take that one treat and, spend some time to, don't just gobble it down. If people would only become mindful about the enjoyable foods that they do eat, where they might, say, take a piece of chocolate and go sit down on a lazy boy chair for 20 minutes and just almost make love to that chocolate, like savor every single molecule. I
just wrote in my notes, I swear to God, savor the food. I just wrote it. I'm holding up my notebook. I just wrote that down, savor the food, and then you just said it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. For me, because I had, essentially what I think would be diagnosed as a binge eating disorder as a youngster, I have to think of food almost like an alcoholic thinks of a drink. Alcoholics drink. They just don't drink alcohol. And so when you have a binge eating disorder, or you have essentially an addictive relationship with food, in some cases there's certain foods where they kind of trigger behavior where you lose control. And for many years I just couldn't eat ice cream, because I knew that if I had one spoon, I would want to eat the whole container. And it took many years before I could eat ice cream in control. And even still, I really almost never bring it home. And my wife knows she just doesn't bring it home, because if she does, at least, the history has been that there's one delicious container of, Ben and Jerry's or Haagen-Dazs or some delicious ice cream. It's not going to be there for long. I would have a tendency, when I'm feeling a little down or a little tired or whatever it might be, that, you get into that sort of weak spot and you have that emotional need, and the ice cream fills that gap that you're looking for. And so for me, it's almost been like an alcoholic who has to abstain.
Do they have in your clinic? Do you have moments like in Alcoholics Anonymous where they have their meetings, and everybody comes together and, hi, I'm Michael and I'm an alcoholic, and and then they share their stories? Do you have any of that going on in the clinic? Those kinds of sessions?
We don't, because I don't really look at it the same way as an addiction to a harmful substance. The thing is that with food, unlike any addiction that you can name, the treatment is not abstinence. It might be kind of in the sense that when you are trying to get free from kind of addictive behaviors that are related to food, that you have to abstain from certain foods. So
let me quote you again. The treatment quote: "The treatment is not abstinence." That's a quote. That's the first time anybody's ever said that on this show. That will come back. I want to revisit that with Dr. Lyon. Didn't mean to cut you off, Dr. Lyon. These messages are hard messages. Got to take them. They're going to cut us off whether we like it or not. We'll come back. We'll resume our conversation with Dr. Michael Lyon.
Almost 52% of men experience erectile dysfunction and benign prostatic hyperplasia. If you've had challenges with virility, sexual health, or low energy, Body Vigor's Alpha Extension may be the answer for you. Body Vigor's Alpha Extension can help revitalize your alpha male and extend your love. Our formula is one of the highest quality nutraceuticals available, formulated to support the processes involved in promoting a healthy male sex drive, energy, and stamina. Alpha Extension has 2 powerful herbal blends, Virilla Max, which focuses on male sexual health, and T-Pump Activator, which helps balance your testosterone levels. Revitalize your alpha male with Body Vigor's Alpha Extension, exclusively available on Amazon.com.
Quote, treatment is not abstinence. Abstinence is not the treatment. That's a quote. Abstinence is not the treatment, close quote, by Dr. Michael Lyon. There are some organizations like Food Addicts and Overeaters Anonymous where they take a different point of view and will say that food addiction means, like alcoholism, it's total abstinence. You got to cut it out completely. There's a different point of view, and I line up with Dr. Lyon on this, that there is evidence that cognitive behavioral therapy, the practicing of mindfulness, acceptance-based therapies can treat overeating, addictive behavior, binge eating disorders, whatever those may be, and food addiction. And it is what I asked Dr. Lyon, said, are there things that people can practice during the holidays? The first thing out of his mouth was, don't take an all or nothing approach. Go ahead and take that piece of dark chocolate, hopefully, and take a piece of it, go sit down and savor it. Eat it, enjoy it, and then be done. Don't show up and say, I can't have any of this. You set yourself up for, you create the expectation for failure here. You don't realize it. It happens. Dr. Lyon, welcome back. So abstinence is not the treatment. Intuitively, some people would think that abstinence is the treatment. So it sounds sort of counterintuitive to say abstinence is not the treatment, right?
Yeah, I think, and again, there are elements of addiction in most of the patients that we work with when it comes to their relationship with food. And so there are some small similarities that do apply to the treatment of other addictions. To be selectively abstinent from foods that are what you might call trigger foods is just plain smart. Like to go through your pantry and to get rid of the chips and the pop and the snack foods that are really, really hard to stop at one. Like, how many people can stop at 6 potato chips? I can't. I really can't. I mean, I just don't know how. For me, it's better not to have those kinds of foods in the pantry at all, because then there will be other things that when I have that sort of growly feeling in my stomach, I can turn to something healthier most of the time, and I can eat that and be satisfied because my body is saying something to me that I'm responding to. But really, the treatment of overeating and of weight problems nowadays is a treatment that we would call physiological. You treat the physiology that's disordered, that's causing the increase in appetite drive.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean?
When you look at what's going on inside the brain of someone who's overweight, their body is working hard to maintain that higher weight. And in fact, your brain believes that your normal weight is the highest weight you've ever been, and it never forgets. So there are hormones that are secreted that travel through the brain that trigger very powerful appetite centers in the hypothalamus of the brain that say it's time to eat. And it says that for some people, it says it over and over and over again excessively throughout the day.
So that's physiological / biological in nature.
Yeah, it's very much a biological drive to keep us at a weight that we're at. Your body has like a thermostat that's set, and it says, I need this many calories today to maintain this body weight. And it'll make sure you get those calories plus. You get those calories plus. It's easier to have a little extra than to have a little less. Your body does not want you to lose weight. So to lose weight mindfully, you have to really work at it. It's something you're working against, a physiological drive to maintain that excessive body weight. So teaching people to eat to achieve and maintain satiety, or a feeling of fullness and satisfaction, is critical. We do that firstly by getting people off the blood sugar roller coaster, because most people with weight problems are pre-diabetic or diabetic, and their blood sugar goes up and down throughout the day like a roller coaster. That's why the low-carb diet's so popular, because it's the easiest way to get off the blood sugar roller coaster. Just stop eating carbs altogether. But it's not the only way. And it may not be the healthiest way or the most sustainable way for most people.
Is that where fiber would come in? Fiber could come in, like soluble fiber, like in the form of PGX, for example?
You eat foods that are lower in glycemic index, so those are foods that are less likely to spike the blood sugar, and you eat lower amounts of carbohydrates, true. And then you can add soluble fiber, and using supplements, like we have people take PGX before every meal, which is something that lowers the glycemic index more than any other thing that's ever been discovered, actually. And it's a soluble fiber that swells, grows to several hundred times its weight when it's exposed to water, or water in the food that you eat. So you take 5 grams with each meal, and it creates about a quart of stomach volume that helps to offset both appetite, and it slows the digestion of food, so it lowers the after-meal blood sugar, and that can be very helpful. Teaching people to eat more bulk in their diet, a diet we call volumetric. It's a diet where you're eating volume with each meal, making sure that you include foods that fill you without filling you with extra calories.
Okay.
And this is a strategy you can apply to everything you do. When you go to a buffet, look for the volumetric foods. Nowadays there's usually, there's roasted vegetables or steamed vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
There's salads. There's things that have lots of bulk with little calorie. Now, salads, of course, you can make them very high calorie by adding different dressings and things. You've got to be careful with salads. They can really trick you.
We'll come back and I'll review so far the principles that Dr. Lyon has laid out that you can practice during these holidays. I wrote an article on volumetrics, by the way. I'll reference that.
Women who are pregnant or planning to have a child have specific nutritional needs. Maintaining optimal nutritional intake is important for mother and baby. Body Vigor's Preferred Prenatal can help mother and baby receive the appropriate building blocks for growth, development, and healthy function. The Preferred Prenatal formula provides essential vitamins and minerals, along with added support ingredients such as folic acid and DHA. Preferred Prenatal also incorporates a bonus herbal blend to help the mom-to-be with the uncomfortable side effects of pregnancy, like nausea, vomiting, mood swings, and uterine health. Support a healthy pregnancy for you and your baby with Preferred Prenatal, exclusively on Amazon.com.
Doc's back.
We're back. All right. Thank you. Had to go to my locker and grab some notes. Welcome back to Let's Talk Nutrition. Dr. Michael Lyon is my guest. Dr. Lyon, I asked him the question, what would be some principles that people could practice during the holidays and beyond, for that matter, that would help them manage their relationship with food, how much they eat, what they eat, when they eat, where they eat, why they eat, and so on. It's a complicated relationship. There's a physiological, biological dimension, a psycho-emotional dimension, a sociological dimension, and so on. And he pointed out, avoid taking an all-or-nothing approach. Don't say, well, I'm not going to eat anything unhealthy during these holidays. Most likely you're not going to succeed at that. Allow for a certain amount of, as I call it, nutritional sin, and then be done with it. Savor the food. If you're going to eat that pecan pie, take a small slice, and then eat it, enjoy it, and don't have guilt feelings while you're eating it. Enjoy it. And then be done with it. Try to create a feeling of fullness. One way to do that is to eat foods that are higher in fiber, for example, or to supplement with something like PGX that Dr. Lyon has talked about on the show. Eat foods that are lower in the glycemic index so you can avoid that blood sugar roller coaster. And there's certain foods that are lower in the glycemic index. That's easy to find on the internet. And then the principle of volumetrics. I wrote an article on that. Losing and managing weight by replacing high energy dense foods with low energy dense foods was the title. Dr. Lyon, welcome back. These are principles that can be practiced. I didn't mean to cut you off as we were heading into messages, but you wanted to finish your thought?
Yeah, well, I think, in essence, nowadays the treatment of most addictions involves a physiological approach. And I think that there's still a big tradition of, the 12-step programs and so on, but in the study of addictions, we realize more and more that the brain has to be a big part of the treatment. And so in addictions, for instance, for opioids, there's medications that are very helpful. There are approaches using more modern ways of looking at addictions, like with cognitive behavioral therapy, rather than, sort of the tried and true 12-step program. It's not necessarily all tried and true. When you really study the efficacy, it does help and work for some people, but for other people, they really fall through the cracks with that approach. And so likewise with the treatment of obesity, with serious weight problems, we have to take a more science-based approach. We're looking at what does science say when it comes to the treatment of obesity, and it's certainly proven that you can't just go about it by simply abstaining. Of course, abstain from food altogether, but to even bring that into, as a model into the treatment of obesity, it doesn't really fit. So we want people to live a life that's in balance, and I think in this modern world, balance means having some foods that are purely enjoyable. You can't just live on soy grits and dry toast.
Oh my God!
It wouldn't really work.
That's like being banished to some island, never to talk to another human being again. I mean, that would be dreadful, right?
Yeah, I guess in reality, if we had the human equivalent of dog kibbles, and if they gained weight and they had a weight problem, you just forced them to eat nothing but dog kibbles. That's how we treat our dogs for gaining weight, and it works pretty well. But do you really want to live like that?
Yeah.
I don't want to live like that. I want to enjoy my food. That's what food is. Food is enjoyment. Food is social. Food is comfort. Food is all of that. And if we lose that by going on some crazy diet, that your body's going to rebel against that eventually and fight you back. So you have to find a way where you're in balance. You learn to control your portion sizes, where you learn to say no at the second helping, where you learn to say no with dessert when, it's okay once in a while, but if it's a daily thing, That's a lot of extra calories. That's going to amount to several pounds a year if it's a regular occurrence. So you have to bring moderation into this, like it or not. And it's not all or nothing. It's a daily quest.
So,
a daily quest for better health.
To summarize so far, what Dr. Lyon has been talking about, in a word, he's saying practice conscious eating. Be mindful means to engage in mindful eating instead of mindless consumption of your food and beverages, especially during this time of year. Stay mindful of where you're at, what the situation is, what the food landscape is that's in front of you, and practice conscious eating. Practice portion control, and try to be mindful of how much you're eating, that serving size, and how much are you packing onto that plate or whatever. Also, he's suggesting, too, eat slowly, by savoring the food that's implied there. Eat slowly. Wait. Another principle here is wait before going back for seconds, because it takes a while for the brain to receive the signal from the stomach that, you know what, you're full. There's a lag time in there. So wait a minute or two. You'd be surprised. You may not want that second helping. I know this sounds a little silly, but the Cornell Food and Brand Lab have done some research on using smaller plates and flatware. Does help. Drink water to create more, to create a feeling of fullness. And eating these foods that are low in glycemic index value is a good idea. And then practicing volumetrics, where you're trying to you're replacing high energy dense foods with low energy dense foods. So there is a summary. I know that you do you have to leave at this segment, or can you stay? I know you have a meeting or something coming up.
I can do one more segment. And
okay,
then,
we have one more left.
To go into a meeting.
Yeah, we have one more left. And
okay, well, I have to leave at 5 to the hour.
That's when we go off the air.
7 to the hour.
That's when we go off the air. Energy density is defined as the relationship of the number of calories to the weight or volume of food. It's calories per gram. Weight or volume means the amount of food in a portion or serving. In summary, then, energy density is simply the concentration of calories in a portion or serving of food. You may have to start to learn to think this way. I'm introducing the idea. Dr. Lyon introduced it. I wrote an article on it. He's written about it. He talks about it. This is another strategy to help manage your weight and your relationship with food during the holidays and beyond.
Is getting a
Women who are pregnant or planning to have a child have specific nutritional needs. Maintaining optimal nutritional intake is important for mother and baby. Body Vigor's Preferred Prenatal can help mother and baby receive the appropriate building blocks for growth, development, and healthy function. The Preferred Prenatal formula provides essential vitamins and minerals, along with added support ingredients such as folic acid and DHA. Preferred Prenatal also incorporates a bonus herbal blend to help the mom-to-be with the uncomfortable side effects of pregnancy, like nausea, vomiting, mood swings, and uterine health. Support a healthy pregnancy for you and your baby with Preferred Prenatal, exclusively on Amazon.com.
Here's the LTN health question of the day. One of the strategies that Dr. Lyon pointed out would be good to practice to manage your weight and manage your sort of your relationship with food during the holidays would be to practice volumetrics. You can look that up. There's quite a bit of literature on the topic of volumetrics. I wrote an article myself on the topic. You might take a look at it. It's an older book, Rolls and Barnett. It's entitled Volumetrics Weight Control Plan. There are many other books out there and articles on volumetrics. But here's the question. Which of the following foods is considered a low energy dense food? That is, where there's a small amount of calories for a high volume of food. All right? Which of the following would be considered a low energy dense food? A, cheese, milk, and butter, which would be dairy. B, hard-boiled eggs and hummus. C, greens. Which one of those would be considered a low-energy dense food? A, cheese, milk, and butter, which would fall under the category of dairy. B, hard-boiled eggs and hummus. Or C, greens. With the right answer, you'll win a $25 supplement gift card. The picture, the image of the person you see in the right-hand corner, in the right lower-hand corner of your screen, is one of my producers, Gary, who is making this stream possible. Here's the number to call.
You can reach us at 877-897-8255. That's 877-897-8255.
Volumetrics is a very good, it's a sensible, intuitively appealing principle. If you can get in touch with it and learn about it, it could be very helpful. Dr. Lyon, welcome back.
Yes,
go ahead.
Yeah, volumetrics is, to me, it's almost like a guerrilla strategy for weight management, in the sense that, for instance, I'm at a buffet. I'm a guy who used to be able to eat 5 or 6 plates at a buffet easy and eat people under the table. But now my strategy is I look at the buffet and I go for the things that are the volumetric foods first. I'll pile, there's, steamed vegetables or roasted vegetables. I'll just pile them up on the plate. I look for all the veggies without the cream sauces and that sort of thing, and I just pile them up on the plate until it looks like, I've got a lot of food there. And then I'll go for the high calorie foods, maybe of course, maybe some meat or fish or whatever it is there, and maybe a little potato or a little bit of something that's really, quite sumptuous. And that sort of gets a little bit of a corner section on my plate when the rest of it's piled high with all these volumetric foods. And then I'll sit down and I'll eat the big volume foods and have just little bits of the high calorie foods. Mm-hmm. And it's a way of tricking my stomach into feeling like I've eaten a lot more food than I have. Mm-hmm. And people will look at me and, I'm still eating 20 minutes later, and they might be thinking, man, how does that guy, how does he keep his weight down? He's eating like a horse. But right. The reality is, it's like a guerrilla strategy. It's like I come in and like a trick warrior to trick my brain into thinking I've eaten a lot more than I have.
And while they're going back for seconds, you're still working on that first plate.
That's right. And so my stomach is full to the point where I feel like I've eaten 2 or 3 plates, but actually most of the food that I've eaten is very low in calories. Mm-hmm. And in a sense, I've done myself a world of good by eating all those high volume, high fiber foods, all those veggies. And now I end up an hour later feeling great instead of feeling awful. As when you normally go to a buffet, you eat twice as many calories as you need, and you feel terrible.
It's funny, those buffets are called all you can eat. That wouldn't be so bad if all you could eat were foods that were of a nature that wouldn't pile on the weight as you pile the food on the plate. But it's one of the worst contrivances of humankind. All you can eat. My God, what are you, a prisoner on death row, and this is your last meal? Come on now. That concept, and people think like, I'm going to get even with the man. I'm going to eat as much food. I'm going to make, I'm going to pay $10, and I'm going to make this guy let him write red ink, and I'm going to eat more food than he's going to lose money on me. What are you doing, man? Don't fall into that trap. Sharu wouldn't do that, right, Sharu?
No, we all fall into the trap.
Well, nice to hear your voice. I saw your name come up on the screen. How are you?
Very good, sir, and happy holidays to you and Dr. Lyons, too.
Thank you very much. So which one of those foods would be considered a low energy dense food? Would it be A, the dairy foods that I mentioned, cheese, milk, and butter, B, a hard-boiled egg and hummus, or C, just plain old greens?
C, greens.
Yeah, greens. Some people would have maybe gone for the hard-boiled egg and hummus. Those are considered... those are medium energy dense foods. Right. Of course, high energy dense foods, milk, cheese, butter, bacon, desserts, candies, processed foods, foods such as broccoli, green beans, asparagus, tomatoes, broth.
All those foods, Dr. Garko.
Yeah, those are low energy broth-based soups.
The problem is they make you feel bloated sometimes, but
yeah.
I do arm myself with PGX, though. I did get 2 bottles of it.
PGX?
Yes.
What did you get, the granules?
No, I got a few samples of granules from the lady tanks, but I did get the capsules. I did have a question.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Lyon. He mentioned on one show not long ago. I agree with him. I think the granules work more efficiently or better or easier.
The granules, they form a slurry, and they kind of you have to slurp them right away, and they gel up. So
you got to mix it and drink it down right away.
Capsules are a little convenient too.
I understand. I understand. Well, congratulations. You won a $25 supplement gift card, and my best of health and wealth to you and your family during this holiday season.
Thank you so much.
It's nice to hear your voice.
Thank you.
And Dr. Lyon, it's always nice to hear your voice as well, and I hope that you have a good day today, and your holidays are filled with a lot of happiness and health and a good state of mindfulness and peace.
Thanks, Michael. It's always great to be on your show.
Yeah, it's always great to have you on. We appreciate you very much.
All right, you take care.
I will. I will. PGX, I'm telling you, that product is wonderful. It will help a lot. Go to pgx.com. Read about it first. And if you have any questions, call me on or off air. Send me an email, Dr. Garko at letstalknutrition.com. Send me a carrier pigeon, smoke signals. I don't care. We'll take the message. In the meantime, be mindful. Your health is your wealth.